Hello Steelers and welcome to another bench report, hobby updates. I'm going to start with a little bit of an apology. Last week I was speaking about the new version of Chain of Command and I kind of made it sound a little bit like it was news to me. I'm going to say here and now, I've actually known about it for several months. I've been play testing it for a while. I'm sorry, that was a little bit of razzle dazzle on our part. It was a bit of a scheme I came up with Richard while talking about it. So I do apologise, but yeah, it's still something I'm massively looking forward to, and hopefully it will be along at some point in future, and then I'll be able to do some more videos talking about it. Anyway, that's enough of that. Again, I'm just going to say I do apologise. A little bit of fun on our part, and I hope nobody was upset. This week I've managed to get quite a lot of stuff painted. I had a bit of a quiet weekend last weekend, so I was able to chip away at various things. First things up were the second platoon of NVA soldiers, the soldiers of North Vietnam, or the People's Army of Vietnam, as they were also known. These are from Peter Pig. These are the ones that Dean had given me as part of my 50th birthday. He was basically just clearing out a lot of stuff, and these are ones that he'd got. He'd painted some of them, so I just repainted them in later colours, in the darker green rather than the earlier beige colours that he'd got them in. So these are going to be for Charlie Don't Surf at some point, so that's the second of these platoons now. I only need a third one of them, and these are very easy to paint, to be honest. So then I've then got a good number of figures for the NVA. I've also then got to work on some Americans. I need a couple more platoons of theirs, and also another platoon of VC, but I'm just chipping away at those in the background, so they'll be coming along at some point in the future. I also went back to some of the Warlord Epic stuff as well, and the first ones were these Dutch line infantry. This is the 4th Dutch Infantry Regiment, and now these are basically wearing the same uniforms as the British, but they have blue tunics instead of red. And I wanted to do something slightly different to the hundreds of red coats that A, I've already painted, and B, I've still got to paint. And the Allied army of the 1815 was pretty mixed, so you got armies from all over the places, including the Dutch. And I just thought, I was just looking through some of the uniforms, and I noticed these guys have got Belgic shakos, so they look very similar to the British that I already got. And at this scale, it's not going to be very noticeable, the finer details that are on the figures. What I could have done is cut off some of the stripes on the tunics that the British have, but you really won't notice it on the tabletop, so I didn't bother. I got the flags from Nap Flags, which is an online resource of Napoleonic flags. Just resized them to the 50mm scale and then just stuck those on as well, printed them out and stuck those on. So nice and easily done. But I was quite chuffed with those. It's just, like I say, something slightly different to the usual red coats that you've got marching around in 1815. I'm going to do this with a couple more units, I think, at some point, maybe another Dutch unit. I'll see what else there is. I know there's quite a few 3D printed other forces for the Allies out there, but I assume at some point Warlord will probably actually produce their own, such as like the Brunswicks and things like that, which are a bit more specific, excuse me, to those particular forces, rather than just using a generic British unit. And then sticking with the Warlord Epic, I went and I painted the 1st Grenadier Battalion as well of the Imperial Guard. This is of the Imperial Guard box that Warlord, again, very kindly sent out to me. And I just thought I'll sit down, paint these guys. I also did their commander, or their ADC, depending on the game you're using, and also one of the 12-pounder guns as well, Napoleon's daughters, lovely daughters I think he called them. So basically that was one of the sprues out of that 3 sprue box. These were lovely, really nice, easy to paint, because they are pretty much just wearing blue with their white cross belts, and that's about it really. These were very simple to do, so I kind of hammered these out very quick. I'm looking forward to getting the rest of those done, but I will concentrate on the actual line infantry earlier than that, I think, much just to get those finished off, rather, so I've got a bulk of an army that I can use at least, and then just add in the extra special elite units on top of that. So yeah, that was I've actually done, as I said, quite a lot of painting this week. I'm not sure what I'm going to be looking at next week. I was thinking about doing some more epic stuff, but probably some of the cavalry perhaps. I was thinking maybe the Prussians, but I think I'm going to wait, rather than break into them. I think I'm going to wait until I've finished the British and the French first, and then do those as a whole. So in the post, One of the things I got, I bought this a couple of times in the past. I just wanted to kind of give it a shout out here. This is from Warpainter Scenics. It's what they call a tub of tufts, mega tub of tufts in fact, and you get 500 plus mixed grass tufts. So I think it's about 20 quid on eBay. I will put a link in the description down below as always. But basically they just send out random grass tufts to you. There's all kinds of stuff in here. There's different kind of flower kind of tufts, smaller tufts, bigger tufts, and it's a real good mix of things. It's just nice if you're looking into buying some tufts and you don't really know what you want to get specifically. So I think it's quite a good idea. Instead of getting loads of something that you might not use a huge amount of, you've got lots of different bits and pieces, and then you could always go back, and they also sell tons of different types of tufts, so you can always go back and just buy other tufts from them anyway, and pick up the ones that you definitely need. But yeah, I just wanted to give a shout out to that. Very good, really good value basically. I'm still using the second box of these that I bought. This is the third one, but I'm kind of just running low on it, so I thought I'll get another one and just get some more interesting different tufts in there. And then also in the post as well, Osprey Games, a while ago they'd actually produced this Sankore, a board game, and I had originally asked if I could get a copy of it. There weren't any review copies left at the time, but they got back in touch and said there were review copies of it, so I thought, yeah, I'll take a copy of that to have a look at it. This is basically a board game about the Islamic library at Sankore in Timbuktu in the 14th century. Apparently it was bigger than the library at Alexander and is still being curated to this day. This is basically a book that, you know, has that skin over it. It's a worker placement game where you decide where you're going to put your efforts, and then you get books as a reward, and then you stock the library with the books, and then your points are decided on how many books there are and how much prestige you have throughout the game. But there's 4 different areas you can explore: theology, mathematics, astrology, and law. So you're teaching classes to students. Quite an interesting idea for a game, but as I say, at its core it is a worker placement game with rewards for whatever you're doing as you get better and better. And it looks complex, but having read the rules and having looked at a couple of videos already, it's not particularly complex. It's more about the complexity comes from the decisions that you are making. But it might be a little bit too much for somebody who's looking at board gaming immediately. But I'm looking forward to having a game of this. There's also very good in this is there is a solo version as well in there. So it's already got that built in. So that's great. So once again, thank you to Osprey Games for sending that through. And speaking of board games down at the club, the thing that we played was Cthulhu Death May Die. Paula brought this down, and all the figures that you can see here were all painted by him. Really good little board game. It's one I've seen for a long time. I think it was kickstarted a few years ago, but it's obviously just using that Cthulhu license that is now in public domain. And basically it's a dungeon bash where you are trying to find clues from dead cultists to then find the tomes, which you can then use to stop the spell, to stop the Great Old One coming, or at least be able to attack the Great Old One. In our case, it was Cthulhu. We got to a point where we were literally one turn off winning the game. It's a cooperative game as well. We were one turn off winning it. But the timer run out, so you're basically up against the timer as much as anything else. Now, I was playing a guy called Morgan, so I thought, well, I'm an archaeologist, that looks good enough for me. And you also get a psychosis as well, and these are just dealt out to you. Mine was an insane condition, and mine was psychosis. So basically what that meant was every time my insanity was triggered at a certain point, I would move towards somebody and just attack them. Anybody in that square would take 2 damage. I'd have to move towards them if I wasn't with somebody. This meant that unfortunately for Clive, who was playing a youngish woman called Borden, wherever she was, I seemed to be in the same position whenever my insanity triggered. So I just kept moving towards her and battering her. And I even got to the point, I think I attacked her about 3 times in the game, killing her on the final one and knocking Clive out of the game. So if Clive, you're watching, I do apologise. It was good fun though. It was a real narrative. There was a point where we were up against 4 cultists. 2 people had already moved in and killed all 4 of them. I moved in and then my psychosis was triggered. I would have killed all of those cultists immediately had I been in the room before, but they were already dead, so I just attacked the other 2 people who were my players. So it was hilarious from the beginning to the end. Really good, interesting game, actually. And as I say, it's one that I'd seen before, I'd never played, and I just thought this would be, you know, I played a couple of games in the last few weeks, or games or things that I've seen in game shops that I've always had a bit of an eye on, so I'm just glad to have actually played it, see what it's like, and I'd happily go back to it again at some point. We all said we all enjoyed it, how much fun it was. And as I say, Rasputin knocked out a couple of Starspawn, so did Sister Beth, who was played by Dean. He just basically went in guns blazing and knocked out another Starspawn, but we just could not get Cthulhu down. We were so close to it, but it is what it is, and you know, humanity was devoured. Right, I'll leave it at that for now. That's pretty much all I've got to say in this one. Not a huge amount has happened this week, apart from basically painting. So please do check out the Warlord affiliate link. It is down below in the description. It just gives me a bit of a kickback from Warlord sales, and I know that a lot of people will be buying their Bolt Action version 3 over the next couple of weeks. So please do just you know, remember my affiliate link if you can. And also, please, if you haven't as well, please do subscribe. I was reminded by Dex to mention that it is free. It costs you nothing. About 80% of the people who watch these videos aren't subscribed. So please do, because then you'll get the videos in your newsfeed or your homepage when I release them over here on YouTube. Secondly, as well, if you do want to check it out, check out the Patreon and also channel memberships. They do give me a little bit more money to help make more of these videos for future for you. And I will see you in the next Storm of Steel video.